All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just to kind of reiterate what we talked about, segment one, we talked about WWE NXT, the future of Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin going in the draft, as well as Ilya Dragunov and Roxanne Perez. And what can you expect from the WWE NXT World Tag Team Champion division here on out? And we also talked about Trick Williams possibly being the one to take the WWE NXT title and kind of keep it at NXT, because if Ilya wins, Trick Williams cannot fight in NXT anymore, and he's forced to give up his whole career. So with his back against the wall, much like Nathan Frazier and Axiom, I think he's going to prevail. But before we get deeper into our next segment, we're going to talk about our tips and donations link. Make sure you guys hit that up if you want to talk. We get a number of questions through the show from our viewers. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, and so that I can read it, it gets moved up to the top of the list so we can have a nice little conversation about it. Like I mentioned before, last show we had a chat come up. And it was a pretty good question. It was a question / statement, basically saying, is Nathan Frazier going to kind of be like the next Seth Rollins, based on his moveset and his abilities to kind of be high flying and also move off the ropes inside of the squared circle, which I completely agree with. I think Nathan Frazier is going to make it big, and he could very much be the next kind of like Seth Rollins. So the link, the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Leave a positive review, leave a question, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, tell me that I'm babbling on like an idiot. It's not nice. No, I'm just kidding. No, but hey, like this is my show, just as my, it's our show. We're wrestling fans, we're family. You walk into any bar, you walk in it like, I know I said this story before, like where I ran into a wrestling fan at Disneyland, and we ultimately kind of like clicked. He saw my Seth Rollins shirt and he was like, "Oh man, cool shirt." And after that, it was like, we're family. We're family. Anyways, the link again is the GSMCpodcast.net. So if you want to leave your tips and donations, to leave a comment so we can talk about it, ultimately ready to do so. So yeah. All right, we have our AEW Dynamite preview. This is AEW is not it's breaking my heart, but they're right now they're trying to hang in there, like, you know what I mean. Especially with WrestleMania, like it's not easy. So I don't want to go too far off the wagon here talking about this kind of thing, because I'll save it for later. But let's just kind of go over a little bit of what you can expect for AEW Dynamite. It's going to be aired tonight live in Charleston Coliseum in Charleston, West Virginia, which is a beautiful state, by the way. I've been to West Virginia. Very green, very awesome, nice air and everything. Like, it was pretty cool. Not really humid, but this isn't a geography podcast, so let's move on. We have Samoa Joe set to face Dustin Rhodes for his AEW championship. Obviously, you had Dustin Rhodes' brother, Cody Rhodes, finish his story at WrestleMania. Can Dustin Rhodes finish his story on AEW Dynamite tonight? Highly unlikely. No, I'm just kidding. No. I'm not a hater. I actually really like Goldust. Goldust was like one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. But it's going to be a good match, but ultimately Samoa Joe is just, he's too dominant right now. He's like, you can't really fight that guy. Like, honestly, I had speculation that Swerve Strickland could have dethroned him, but I think they're waiting for someone special, or either waiting for MJF to come back, or, like one of these grand gestures of like, heroic, rising from the dead kind of superstar mentality that they're kind of hoping that, and Samoa Joe's title reign. Next, we have Adam Copeland defending his TNT championship against Penta El Zero M. So this match is going to be probably kind of like a mixture of kind of like a high flying technical match, because I know Edge, like, he's not really the power kind of wrestler to have those power dynamics, but he's the one to, dig into his bag of tricks and kind of dig into his old school WWF/WWE TLC, where he can jump off the top rope, jump through the ropes, and ultimately hit like these, heavy blows. Because I don't know, this guy, it's going to be hard to catch Penta, man. that guy's a high flyer as well. He's absolutely like insane good. He kind of reminds me of like I don't want to say Kalisto because I don't want to stick to like the mask like kind of wrestling kind of thing. But he's very aggressive and he's very like he's insane to watch. Like I think Edge. I keep saying Edge. Adam Copeland. I think Adam Copeland has his hands full tonight. I know a lot of people probably see this as like an easy win, but hey, I think he's going to get tested to his limits here. So it should be interesting to see. Next, you have Tony Storm's champagne toast with Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa. I'm a huge fan of Thunder Rosa. Obviously, I listen to the Busted Open podcast with Bully Ray, Mark Henry, and the host. I can't think of his name right now. This is gonna kill me. This is gonna kill me. If anybody listens to the Busted Open podcast, and that's if you can chat the main guy's name, that would be very, very helpful. But ultimately, I think she can hold a company like AEW on her back, and so honestly, I think it's pretty cool. Like I'm I'm not completely sure if she did have an injury. But I think that she's totally over that. She's ready to take the next step into her relationship. And who knows what's going to happen when it comes to that champagne toast. Tony Storm, the timeless Tony Storm, she's really good. I remember watching her in WWE. Now watching her in AEW. Although I feel like AEW don't really right now they're not really putting her into that many matches, which is kind of like like me as a wrestling fan, absolutely love people wrestling. Now that's kind of why I had that. Kind of like the mentality and the ideology that they should get rid of like baby faces and heels and just let the wrestlers be themselves and just wrestle. Like let what happens inside of the ring kind of like dictate if a person is heel or if a person is not heel. That kind of unpredictably if this guy's a jerk, this guy's not a jerk, this guy wants the best for the crowd, this guy wants the best for the company. All that kind of stuff, it just excites a WWE fan or pro wrestling fan in general. So I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. Um, you have Chris Jericho teaming up with Hook, teaming up with Katsuyori Shibata against Shane Taylor, Lee Moriarty, and Anthony Ogogo. So ultimately, I think Chris Jericho is going to get the win with Hook and Shibata because these guys are currently like you kind of have this Hook Chris Jericho thing where can he really trust Chris Jericho? Despite everything Chris Jericho has done in AEW, what he's done in WWF, WWE, WCW, Chris Jericho has always he has the modus apparatus of someone that's really gonna, stab a knife in your back and kind of watch you fall and take advantage of you. Obviously, Hook is the FTW AEW champion, so I don't know if he's gonna go after that, but I don't know. I'm hooked. I'm hooked. Ha! Kind of punny. I'm just kidding. No, I don't want to. I don't want to strive any viewers away. Sorry, guys. Next, we're going to talk about in our final story. We're going to talk about the Young Bucks are expected to present the backstage footage of AEW and the altercation between CM Punk and Jack Perry, which is Jungle Boy. But so it's been 8 months. That's Punk's final day at AEW. It's pretty crazy. Punk essentially, as soon as he got released from AEW, kind of buried it, kind of trashed him, and it was crazy because the reason why CM Punk said that he was not really ready to continue his tenure within the AEW organization was that he had a problem with this guy Jack. And it was kind of like an employee complication or like kind of like some drama. CM Punk ultimately went to Tony Khan to talk about it, and Tony Khan, not knowing what to do, his reaction was not obviously diffusing the situation. Punk was pushed by Perry, and all Khan had to say about it was, like, hey, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Like, and just, and all of us aren't wrestlers. I get that. Or you are a wrestler. That's pretty cool if you're watching this podcast, if you're a wrestler. But if you're not a wrestler, just imagine going to your 9-to-5 job. Or imagine going to, just somewhere where you have a boss and other like coworkers or partners or stuff like that. And obviously you had this fall in with another employee where they're being rude, or they might be like mocking you, or might be like, telling slanderous or, libeling behind your back, like who knows. But then you go to the boss and you're like, hey, like, I don't want this to turn into anything. I don't want to have to take measures into my own hands. Is there any way you can talk to this employee for me and kind of diffuse the situation so I don't have to come into work dealing with this BS? And then imagine your employer looking you dead in the face and be like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, it's just like, dude, like, are you kidding me right now? Like, that's terrible. That's trash. Like, you are a billionaire who teamed up with various wrestlers to create this thing that's supposed to compete against one of the biggest business conglomerates in sports entertainment history, the WWE. And you want to tell one of your employees that, what do you want me to do? Like, that's really, really like super unprofessional. And I think that's a, pretty crucial reason why CM Punk found a way to kind of get out of there. But CM Punk ultimately did kind of end he was on I think he was on MMA talk show or something like that, where he said that Tony Khan is a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy, and but he's not a boss, like, kind of thing. Like, and sometimes to be a boss, you kind of have to not you cannot you can't be afraid to like overstep the boundaries and kind of be a jerk just for like the betterment of the company, kind of thing. Like when it comes to situations like that where you have two employees like fighting, or you have a just a disrespectful culture, because that kind of stuff can rot an organization inside out. And that's not good. Like, you can see like a lot of things, especially not even in wrestling. Like, you can see that in the NFL and NBA, MLB, NHL. Like, if there's someone that's bad in the locker room, a lot of the other players are going to pick up off that. And kind of like, is this the culture in the locker room? Is this our team culture? Like, I'm out of here. Like, no one wants to be part of that. So you kind of have to respect CM Punk's decision of not moving forward when it comes to that kind of stuff. But like I said, ultimately he said that Tony Khan was a good guy. I don't know how much of that like was true, but there's also the fact that maybe, perhaps, maybe, just maybe, that maybe maybe they kind of use this as a way to it's called the bait and switch, like where you kind of feel like you have to light the stage on fire just to kind of get a reaction. You get the attention. You get the attention. And former star, WWF star, Jeff Jarrett, now he's the AEW Director of Business Development. He spoke about the controversial topic, and he said, and I quote, you gotta blur the lines. You gotta blur the lines of professional wrestling." And him saying that kind of means like, because WWE refuses to merge with any other wrestling brand, you kind of have to, kind of bring that in, kind of like what WWF did during the Attitude Era, where you had DX kind of invade WCW, and then you had Eric Bischoff air WWF being like, "Oh, don't worry about the other, missing Monday Night Raw, because here it is. You have the same, S word, on and on again. So don't worry about. Stay tuned to Turner Broadcasting, Monday Night Nitro rolling on." Like you kind of have those things where it's just, you kind of have to blur the lines there. You kind of have to push the fourth wall a little bit, and it's, as a wrestling fan, like, it just makes it better. Like it's kind of it kind of makes for like, oh, is it real or is it like a teaser? Like, you don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know if WWE is merging with Tony Khan's promotion, because according to sources, Triple H is not afraid to kind of not borrow superstars, but kind of let Impact wrestlers like Jordan Grace. Obviously, you see the addition of Jaden Cargill, and ultimately you see Cody Rhodes coming back to carry the company. So obviously, Paul Levesque isn't afraid to kind of cross those boundary lines or blur those lines. So honestly, I think it's what WWE, or what professional wrestling creative does, is try to kind of confuse fantasy with reality, which is kind of a huge reason why people love professional wrestling. I know for me, that's the reason why I love professional wrestling, is because sometimes you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know if this is real. Like with the whole Rock and Cody Rhodes thing, like making them bleed. Like, I was like, oh my god, like, these guys hate each other. But ultimately, usually they have that, for the entertainment factor. But it's cool to ponder about it. Jeff Jarrett also said, obviously, the whole world is talking about WrestleMania and the WWE, which is right. Honestly, like AEW struggling numbers has a lot to do with WrestleMania, the WrestleMania season coming into effect. And it's not easy to compete with. So laying down a bombshell like this about how AEW and the Young Bucks or the Elite may or may not be trashing CM Punk on our brand, it brings a rise out of professional wrestling fans, which ultimately gets them viewers. So, you can't really argue about the thing about that. But kind of going back to and kind of capping this thing off, but talking about just Triple H and the possibility of with a merge with AEW or with AEW superstars officially coming over to WWE due to lack of representation through executive officers or people within the organization like concerned about maybe they can't hold the company. Like, why do I want to keep sinking in my talent, my years, my chances of getting hurt? Which, obviously, if the wrestler gets hurt and he's not able to compete in the ring again, what do? Do you switch to this 9 to 5 job, flipping hamburgers or pushing carts? If a person is willing to put their whole body on the line, they want to make the best out of like the situation they have with bigger contracts and something that's absolutely stable, which is relative to any sports star, playing in the NBA, NFL, basically anything involved, with sports and your body. So just kind of cap it all off just to let you know that Keith Lee was seen at the WWE Hall of Fame, which is pretty crazy. Also, you have Matt Cardona kind of connected to the WWE through his wife, um, Chelsea Gray, Chelsea Green, not Chelsea Gray. Who's Chelsea Gray? Maybe it is Chelsea Gray. I don't know, but I'm sorry. And then you also had Aleister Black. I don't know if he's still dating Zelina Vega or not. MJF is great friends with Cody Rhodes. Paul White and Billy Gunn, obviously, they are WWE Hall of Famers. They can definitely be in contact with Triple H. And you have Dustin Rhodes, brother of Cody Rhodes. You have Sting also in the WWE Hall of Fame. Mark Henry connected to wrestling just in general. So I don't know. This makes you think that if these former professional wrestlers, well, not professional wrestlers, if these former WWE superstars slash WWF really they joined the creative AEW for a reason. And I think once when Vince kind of had his allegations and kind of bounced out of the WWE, I think they were able to kind of have a better show with AEW. They were way better like as soon as they first started because Paul White, Mark Henry, former WWE execs like Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett, they all knew how Vince McMahon ran the WWE. So they kind of knew what to expect from their competitor. But he's out, Triple H is in. You don't necessarily know what Paul Levesque is going to do, which is why I feel like the creative in AEW is kind of like, at a standstill. They're like, oh shit, oh snot, like there's this guy that's it's totally fresh, totally hot out the wagon. Like, what do we do? What do we do? And as opposed to back in the day where Paul Wyatt and wrestlers that joined AEW or WCW were like, yeah, let's trash Vince. Let's get that effing guy. Like now you kind of have Paul Levesque and all these guys have respect for Paul. And they're like, I think Paul's going to make a pretty good product. Like, I don't want to do anything to maliciously hurt WWE anymore or WWF because they're close friends with Paul Levesque. So this kind of is a huge reason why I feel like AEW is, highly in trouble. It should be interesting to see here on out how AEW's numbers and viewerships go. But ultimately, I think, I think they might be in a little bit of trouble, which is going to segue into our next segment. Is AEW fading? I know people, if you're watching right now and you feel like I'm picking on AEW, I'm not. I love AEW, like I said before, and obviously I wanted to stick around. So you stick around.